Hi, I'm now going to be showing how you can design Pegasus workflow with Claude, focusing more on spec-driven development. I have built Pegasus skills, and all these skills are available on GitHub in this repository in the Pegasus organization, and there is a command in here which shows how you can install them. Let me bring back my VS Code editor wherein I can show you how to do all this. Right now I am on the VS Code editor. If you look on the left pane, I have a folder named Pegasus which has a markdown file. If you see here, the markdown file has a bunch of data sets, and I want to build a workflow for federated learning and use Claude for that. And I also have Claude open up here. I want to install the Pegasus skills and make sure that those skills are available to Claude before I go ahead and build or design the workflow. If I do this, it says the marketplace is already added. I am seeing this error because I have already installed it. You would not see this error if you run this and you don't have this plugin already installed. So all the Pegasus skills are already installed in my Claude environment. Before I ask it to implement anything, I'm going to ask it, can you please build me a specification document which documents the design for a federated learning workflow, which is going to target two of these data sets. And I'm also providing Claude with two additional references. These references have not been covered by the Pegasus skills so far. So I want Claude to look at these two additional references. In this case, one of them is called an ensemble manager and the second one is sub workflows. And I also wanted to use the existing skills it knows and focus on the data sets like TCIA and this NIH data sets. And let's see what it does. Claude has come back. It has read through the skills and the documentation I referred to, and it created a spec.md file, as you can see over here. And it describes the architecture, the data pipeline, and various things. And it also has documented some of the key design decisions it has made. So let me open the spec file. Let's do this here so I can close this. So this is where I as a human would review this spec file, which describes the design it is going to implement, and see if there are any changes needed in this design, or if it's doing something wrong, or does it align with my vision or not. In this case, if you can see, it has figured out to use sub-workflow for the federated learning. Sub-workflow is a very complex feature of Pegasus. It's not something very easy. The fact that Claude was able to figure out that this is a good way to implement a federated learning workflow is really smart. And then again, it also has, it's also thinking of using Ensemble Manager to do multiple round iteration, which is again a very advanced feature of Pegasus, and just providing the documentation for it made Claude understand, and the skills it has to figure out that this is the right way to go is really remarkable. And now the idea is that you can go over this and review it and see if this makes sense for you. It has given some example code snippets too in the design document. You can check if this makes sense or not, or something needs to change. And if there are any changes you would require, this is the point wherein you would interact with Claude and say, this is something I don't think matches my vision, or I want to do this in a different way. So you interact with Claude and make your specification better until it meets your expectation. Let me scroll down to the bottom. This is where it is talking about implementation, and let's assume that I am satisfied with the output of the specification.md and I don't want to change anything in here, I can now ask it to let us implement this. Implement the plan suggested in spec.md. And this is where it will go ahead and start implementing and putting in the code base, and it will start appearing on your left pane as it starts adding. If you notice here again, it's going again into the plan mode. It will present you with the plan. If you like the plan, you can go ahead. If you want to change something in the plan, you can converse with it. And please remember to save the plan. So in this case, it's saying what do you want to just implement phase 1 with a single site pipeline and a single client training, or do you want to go ahead with the multi-client sub-workflow and federated average aggregation planning? That would be the ideal approach. You just implement the phase 1, which is a single client, single data set, end-to-end workflow for federated learning. You would verify it, run it, and see that matches your expectation, and then you will come back and ask for it to do phase 1 plus 2, wherein it adds sub-workflows, it adds federated average aggregation and other things. Or you could ask for it to do all 4 phases. Let's just choose phase 1 for now. It's asking, should we be doing full ML logic? Let's say yes to that and submit these answers. It's going to take a little bit of time for it to create the workflow, and then it will come back. As you can see, it presented me with a plan for the phase 1, and on the left you can see the various phases which it presented before in the spec.md, and now it has the implementation plan for phase 1, which is single site prototype, and I think I like the plan, and I'm going to accept and clear the context and let it do the thing. So Claude took some time and came back with the summary of the information about the workflow it created. So it has given information about the config file, what are the library modules it has created, some executable scripts, and Docker containers, how the workflow would be orchestrated, and how it also tried to validate the generated code because every system uses Python code, so it's easy for it to validate. So it is the summary of all the things Claude did. And if you look here on the left pane, there is a directory named FL workflow, and it has all the generated code, binary files, containers, libraries, and output, those things. If you notice here, it's missing a readme.markdown file. So at this point, I can ask it, could you please create a readme So I think this is something I can improve in the skills. So every time a workflow is created, the skills should know that it should always create a readme.md file. So if you look here, the Pegasus skills are already there. So it is using, I didn't have to specifically say which skill to invoke. It automatically figured out which skill is the right skill to use in order to build the workflows. And I am going to let it finish adding the readme.md. It finished creating the markdown file, and if we see here, I do see a markdown file. Let me open a preview, and it describes what the workflow does, what is the architecture. So it becomes easy as a human for me to read what it did, what design decisions it took, and how I can possibly run this. It gives a quick start on how you would run this. Now, I am building this on my desktop, which does not have Pegasus installed. But if you were running this on a server where Pegasus was already installed, you could even ask it to generate the workflow and submit it for you. I do have access to a server which has Pegasus installed on it, and I could ask it to could you please transfer this? Transfer the workflow to the Pegasus server, accessible via SSH, and deploy it there. It's pretty good at not only designing the workflow for you, but also launching it, debugging it, because it has the skills inbuilt in about Pegasus. Also, Pegasus has been there for 25 years, so there is enough documentation available for it. But having skills help, because when you have a huge amount of documentation available, you as a domain specialist know what is the right documentation your skills should be pointing to. So the idea behind showing this is that anybody who is any domain scientist who wants to use Pegasus can use Pegasus with AI's help without learning too much about Pegasus, because it reduces the learning curve. You can, as a domain scientist, you can focus more on the federated learning aspect of it, what kind of parameters you want, what kind of algorithms you want to test, and how to improve that. And you do not have to worry about anything about the Pegasus, like how your workflow is created. The cool thing about this is that once your Pegasus workflow is created, you have all the advantages a Pegasus workflow offers. It can run on any kind of infrastructure. It can scale easily. You don't have to worry about it. It's no longer just running a bunch of scripts on your laptop, but you have a workflow which can run on Access resources, near resources, or cloud resources, or for that matter, Fabric testbed resources. I think it implemented the phase 1. And if I'm satisfied with the results of the phase 1, I'm going to ask it to continue adding support for phase 2, and then for phase 3, and then for phase 4. So having this spec document is important, because that is where it knows what is the design you chose, what are the design decisions you took, and where you are heading. It's similar to a software development process. Like before you developed anything, you would build. You would create a design document. That is important. And if your design is solid, that product is solid. And if you just were hopping from prototypes to prototypes, your end result won't be that good quality. Thank you.